guys, today I'm here with Ben Lee. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I've had people send in questions, so there's going to be a few people asking questions.
Related to me or just questions?
So related to you.
Cool. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to songwriters wanting to crack into the industry as competitive as it is?
I do not crack into any industries.
Yeah.
Any artist that's their priority. Even if they make it in, they'll be out in a year. You have to be an artist.
Yep.
An artist has to be communicating something from their heart that has more value than being about validation or how it's perceived from society. So the key is cultivate an actual craft. You know, become one of those people that has a craft, and then let the industry come to you.
You mentioned in your song Catch My Disease about Good Charlotte, and then you got to work on The Voice with Joel Madden. Was that surreal, or were you just friends and that was...
Well, I've known Joel and Benji since before they were really a band. They snuck backstage at one of my shows. So I was about 19, so they would have been, 15, 16, something like that. And they snuck back at a show in DC and played me a song on my guitar. And I was just like, who are these kids? What? And then it was actually amazing to watch them become really successful. So I've known them for years. So it was nice here to get the opportunity to work with Joel in a more extended way. We haven't done that before.
Yeah, what do you feel about shows in that format?
I don't have a TV, so I don't have much of a feeling about it. I think it's probably making some good money for somebody. I'd say they're relatively harmless. Like, I would never be involved in anything that was like deliberately destructive. It's entertainment, and entertainment has its place. It's not something I concentrate on that much.
Yeah. Sam wanted to know, there have been a couple of hate songs about you. How do you deal with that?
Well, one of them I covered.
That's a
Burnley by the Ataris.
We do.
One of them by Klinger. Actually, Dave, who's in that band, he actually plays in my band sometimes now.
Oh, okay.
But that wasn't really a hate song. That was just a gentle ribbing. I don't know. Was it really the Ataris was a big one? But that guy, we've been cool since then. We've texted once. So, when people are younger, I don't know if you found this. Like when you're young, you really are like, I'm right, they're wrong. It's really like adversarial thing, especially between musicians, and it's totally unnecessary because we're all wrong.
Belle and Sarah both wanted to know who your musical inspirations are.
What a coincidence. They both had that same question. Well, my influences when I was growing up, I loved Jonathan Richman, who's a great songwriter from the 70s, who's one of my favorites. And I loved Bob Dylan and stuff like that. Now I don't listen to that much pop or rock music at all. I love to listen to instrumental music. I love to listen to classical music. I feel like I took in so much pop culture. I almost poisoned myself when I was younger, and now I'm in an extended detox.
What was it like writing a whole album about a drug?
Well, firstly, I wouldn't use the word drug. I think ayahuasca is a plant medicine, and I think this is it's a really important delineation that in our culture doesn't really exist. Mm-hmm. We live in a culture that plies its citizens with drugs, psychiatric medications, alcohol, cigarettes, but then plant medicines that have the capability of providing people a different lens on their experience and often putting them in contact with something that they'd forgotten. There's just no discussion of that. So I think plants are really interesting, and they can serve a lot of different processes in our life that we don't have a lot of room for in our society.
And you're very big on natural oils.
Yeah, I like essential oils. I'm involved in a project called the Koyari Essentials Project that people can read about at my site.
I'll leave a link down below.
Oh yeah, thank you. ben-lee.com. But generally, I think that, look, I love technology too. I love using social media we would never be doing this interview if it wasn't for Facebook. But life can't all be about iPhones and social media and technology. We have to stay connected to ancient wisdom that, like plants, they're so basic. We all have access to them. We should all have access. We all have the right to use them, to be empowered with our health, look after our children in a natural way. So I'm a big believer that that's just something that everyone should have some basic education about.
Yeah. Arky wanted to know if you had a favourite essential oil. He was there last night.
Oh yeah. Favorite essential oil. At the moment, I'm really into vetiver, which is a very masculine, earthy kind of smell. It's often a smell that women are a bit like, I don't know about that, but men are like, yeah. Another one's like Arbor Vitae, that's also very masculine. And interestingly, some of the really feminine ones like geranium and lavender, I'm sort of always a bit like, I don't know how that fits into my life. But anyway, no, they're beautiful too. But so yeah, I found myself really drawn to these kind of woody kind of oils. Yeah.
Lovely. Sam, another Sam would like to know if you would say you're a spiritual person.
The question's it's always a little confusing how to answer a question like that because we're spirits, so we're all spiritual people. I am someone who's been very interested in the spiritual path. I believe it exists, which is something that we can't take for granted. I think a lot of people truly in this postmodern age, they feel that life is just what you make of it, and it's just you dawdle along and you make things and you have some children and get a job and then you die. I feel there is a heroic internal journey that's a spiritual journey that it's not even we need to go on. Why wouldn't we go on it? It's the grandest adventure to understand our own psyche and to map our own consciousness. So that's something that I've believed always. And one of my great quests, my great missions, is to help people digest the idea of an internal work that needs to be done, a spiritual work, in a way that they might not have heard before, that might open them up to it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of your songs touched on God last night. Do you believe?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, the word God, it's so unfashionable. And it's interesting whenever anyone uses the word God, they're like, God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. It's like, I know what you're talking about. You don't have to explain that to me. It's 3 letters. I've heard them before. And truly, what does the word God mean? It means the highest possible ideal that we can imagine. It's our concepts of perfection. It's an internal reality of something that we look around the world and we see the destruction and we see the way we treat each other and we say, we can do better than this. Why do we say that? Because we know there's something more that's better than the way we're interacting. So that, I think, is, and everyone has that. That's why I just think, instead of laboring over this semantic argument about should we call a God or not, let's just discover what God is, instead of arguing, well, of course it exists, because we all aspire. We all have will. We all try and move our lives in a direction of greatness and of improvement. So naturally, there is an energy source of that allows us to conceive of these ideas.
Mm-hmm. Also with moving forward though, you also mentioned last night that you were kind of addicted to self-destruction in a way.
Yeah. Okay, but just to clarify, I wasn't saying self-destruction. There's a certain idea in mysticism called psychological death or mystical death. And that is that moment when you're brought to your knees, when you just say, I was wrong. Wow, I do not know anything. That moment is the most thrilling moment to be alive, And often it does correspond with crisis. Crisis can come into your life and something you don't want to happen, something out of your control. And you're brought to your knees and you're like, wow, who did I think I was in control of life? I'm not in control at all. At that moment when we let go, that's a type of death. And yeah, that is awesome.
Terry would like to know, do you really want a TV embrace?
Well, that lyric actually came from, there was a Fiona Apple song at the time called Sleep to Dream. Mm-hmm. And it had, my mind is burning up, be stifled by your deviant ways. But I heard it on the radio and I thought she said, by your TV embrace. And then someone corrected me and I was like, oh, well, I think I just read a good lyric.
Monda Greens are great. I sing the wrong lyrics all the time. And I wanted to ask if you're still a pescatarian.
I'm not. For a number of years, I was vegetarian, pescatarian. I don't know these names, but at a certain point, and as I did get deeper into my spiritual studies, I realized that there's been a very confused alliance between spirituality and vegetarianism. It's a dietary choice. Mm-hmm. It's fine. If you live healthy as a vegetarian, live as a vegetarian. But there's been a very it's a false idea, a faulty idea that's been shared that like you're more spiritual if you're vegetarian. And I think Jesus addressed this best in the Gospel of Thomas when he's asked, you have to be a vegetarian to become awakened. And he says, truly it's more important what comes out of your mouth than what goes into it. So I try and live by that.
Deanna would like to know, has your approach to performing music changed as you find yourself changing?
100%. I don't know what it is anymore. It's really interesting. It's like, at a certain point of being an artist, I'll be totally honest with you, like, I sense something that I'm capable of that I haven't even come close to yet. And so I wonder what is it I'm doing when I get up on a stage and I'm singing songs that are sort of noble failures in my attempt to reach something. What am I doing? I'm singing them and, well, people are paying me, that's nice, and people do enjoy it. But as far as what it is that's happening, I'm totally confused by it. But I do find that if anything, to go back to an earlier thing we were addressing, if that spark can be lit, where someone can find courage to engage in their internal journey in a way that they hadn't before, then it does feel worthwhile. But why music? Why not being a chef, or an author, or a primary school teacher, or a fireman? Who knows? For whatever reason, life has brought me down this road. I like music. I can communicate something in it, but I do feel confused by it on a daily level. And I sort of think that maybe allows some humility to be in the process.
Mm-hmm. What do you think you would do if you weren't doing music?
I mean, I do a lot of other things, so I wouldn't have trouble filling up my time. But music does touch something very particular. There's a great Shakespeare quote. He says, "Trust not the man that hath no music in his soul." And that's true, that what music, it's music. It's like we feel it and we're, music. And it's something brings us to life. You know?
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you.
Where can they find your music and, find more about you?
I mean, the internet is good.
Yeah.
I have a website. It's ben-lee.com. People can go to that, or go on iTunes or YouTube. I don't know. What do people do these days?
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm on all the social media. Ben Lee Music on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So say hello.
Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you give this a big like up if you like this. Leave us a comment. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much.
Thank you.